Welcome, all of you beautiful souls, to episode number 55 of the DJP. Okay, this one was a fun one for me to make because it deviates from the normal episode just a bit. You see, my guest on this episode is Master Tarot Reader Corbie Mitleid. Now, I've always known people who read tarot. I even remember my mom having a tarot deck when I was a kid and, some girlfriends and stuff from when I was younger, but I never really did much research into any of it myself. I didn't know what the cards meant or anything like that. I didn't know how to read them, obviously, and I've only had a couple basic readings, just a few times. That's what made this episode really fun, because Corbie was kind enough to do not just one, but two readings for me over the course of our conversation. And who better could I have gotten to do a reading on me, really? Because I'm probably nobody, because Corbie's been reading since 1973. I wasn't even alive in 1973. She's traveled all over North America as a full-time intuitive counselor and as an inspirational speaker and facilitator. Her certifications and affiliations include Certified Tarot Master, Certified Professional Tarot Reader. She's a member of the American Tarot Association and the Tarot Guild, and she's an ordained minister of the Sanctuary of the Beloved, the Order of Melchizedek. She is also a trained medium and past life specialist, and she also has a featured channel in Robert Schwartz's breakthrough series, Your Soul's Plan, Your Soul's Gift, and Your Soul's Love. And she's actually got a few books out herself. She's the author of Clean Out Your Life Closet, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, and You've Got the Magic. Who Needs a Genie? Well, probably not me, because I've got Corbie Mitleid on my side. So I hope you enjoy this episode. I really enjoyed making it. And if you do enjoy it, remember to go rate, review, and subscribe to the DJP on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from. Anyway, without further ado, Master Tarot Reader Corbie Mitleid.
You might catch yourself sliding in and out of a hallucinatory state. Just relax and enjoy it. Just relax and enjoy it.
This is an experiment in mind formation. Information. Forming, controlling, operating your mind and your brain. Using digital techniques to overload, scramble, confuse, unfocus your mind. The natural state of the brain is chaos. Chaos is beautiful.
Corbie Mitleid, welcome to the Dharma Junkie Podcast. How are you?
Rocking and rolling, my friend. How are you?
I am doing well. Like we were just talking about before we started recording, I had a bit of a hiccup this morning, but hopefully that's over now and moving on and progressing. One thing at a time. I am for the most part okay. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What exactly is it that you do?
All right, that requires one or two elevator speeches, the 30 seconds.
Please.
What do I do? I am a certified tarot master. I am a past life specialist. I'm a psychic medium and an author. I've been doing this full time since right after 9/11. And now it's 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. And I love what I do. But I started doing this stuff back in 1973 when I was 18.
Oh, wow. I see you've been doing this for quite a while.
Since Moses was in diapers, yes, indeed.
I don't know if it's been that long, but pretty good amount of time. That's crazy. So what did you start with? You said you started when you were 18. So what led you to where you're at now?
Okay. When I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, and I thought, oh, cool, there's magic in the world. I want to go find it. Fast forward to 1973. As a senior in high school, I worked part-time at Spencer Gifts, and they had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. We had our elephant bell-bottoms and our fringe jackets and our decks. Now,
right.
5 years later, everybody else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls. I was still reading because I found the stories that they told fascinating. So for 20 years, I read for friends, keeping my ego out of the way and being, as John Holland says, a clear tube for the message. All of a sudden in 1994, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, hello, you're working for us. And I did it part-time until 9/11. when I saw the towers burn, and my husband and I looked at each other. I said, I need to do the work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. And he said, I believe in you, go do it. For a year, I stayed corporate while I did psychic work evenings and weekends. Once I was sure I could make a living at it, shut the door in corporate, and I've never looked back.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love people, first of all, that follow the path that seems to be chosen for them, you know, rather than just saying, okay, well, I'm just going to work this job and do the 9 to 5. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that. Not going to do that. No. So I definitely admire that. And yes, I've talked to several people that it just seems to be a calling for them, you know. It just seems to, like, the universe, you know, like you said, it was like, hey, you're ours now, and you're going to submit to our will or my will or what.
But, you know, in a way, that's what keeps me clear, because I didn't get into it for the money, and I didn't get into it thinking my aura don't stink, I'm going to go be famous. Right. I'm always in service. As a matter of fact, Corbie Mitleid is what I call my Elton John name. My legal name does not have any wiki-woo value at all. But Mitleid is the German word for compassion. And it's there to always remind me why I do the work I do.
Yeah, good. That's a very important thing. Compassion is one of the most needed things in the world now, and not enough of it going around. So I'm very happy to have you amongst us doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
So I'm kind of familiar with tarot. People around me have always kind of dabbled. I myself have never, attempted to read tarot, or I can't even really remember the last time I had I had a reading. So it just kind of fascinates me. Like I said, I've got friends that are really into it, and they see, they're always talking about it. And I'm like, okay, like for me, it's like speaking Greek to me. I'm like, all right, I could talk about Buddhism and the Dharma all day, but when it comes to tarot, it's like, it's kind of not in my wheelhouse. Like, I'm interested in it, and people seem to gain some utility from it, and so that is what gives me the interest in it. But I don't know anything about it.
Well, it's only one tool that I use. When people come to me, it's always for 4 things. I say, okay, you want the everyday tour bus, house, car, job, finances. Okay, God, you put me here. What the hell am I doing? Or past lives. Who was I in 1642 Belgium? Or I need to speak to my spirit guide, Binky. Or how's dead Aunt Mabel? Those are the 4 things they come to me for. So look, I have to tell you, Justin, I am funny. I've done stand-up comedy on being a psychic. So if like I say, I'm not someone who thinks her aura don't stink. I take my work seriously, but me not so much. So there's going to be giggles on the show today. Just deal.
Good. I hope so. I like to keep it light, and sometimes it ends up not being very light. But I know we're good. We're good. I love to keep it light and airy.
Good.
I've also dabbled in stand-up comedy myself.
Oh, so. Well, then you get it. Now, since this is audio, the people out there can't see it, but I've got all my cards out. Only one is tarot. The rest of them are oracle cards, because tarot cards come with hundreds of years of thought forms and rules and regs. And so people think, oh, tarot, so hard. Oracle decks are fabulous because there are no rules and regs. They're simply from the heart and mind of the person designing them. And they are much easier for someone to read when they don't have a tarot background. In fact, I teach a course specifically so that anyone can pick up an oracle deck and read it within 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Look, one of the reasons that psychics and spiritualists have a difficult time is because people think we have things they cannot do. No, we are all wired the same way. I use, my example, we all have 10 fingers. We can all pick out chopsticks on the piano. Some of us think piano is really cool. So we learn to read music and we practice our scales and we take time and we get pretty good. 1 in 10 million is Elton John, but we all have 10 fingers. So if I can get everybody to start tapping into the intuition, trusting themselves a little bit more so they're not constantly looking outside themselves for the answers. As a Buddhist, you know, we are our own answers. Outside can very often just be illusion. So
look
trust
within.
inside. Trust inside.
Always look and trust within. Yeah. That intuition. Yeah. It's through a meditation practice that I get all of my insight, and definitely a lot of introspection. Almost too much introspection, if there could be such a thing.
But, you know, people are always going to come to perceived experts for answers. So it's our duty, if you will, to make sure that we make it clear to them and we empower them. We don't just say, yeah, your life is going to suck. Here's a $600 candle. Maybe it'll get better. No, thank you. That's not how it works.
No, there's plenty of those out there. Plenty of those people out there, though.
So basically, when you sit with me, it's here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox. Go rock and roll. And when people say, oh, don't tell me the bad stuff, it's like, no, we have challenges to get through. I mean, I've done the cancer dance 3 times, 2 divorces, the death of all of my parents, a very traumatic and abusive life. And here I am at 66. All of what I went through made me who I am, carved my compassion level deep so I can be of service. Everything we go to has a reason. It doesn't mean that God is thumbing its nose at us and saying, I don't like you on Tuesday. Clue.
I'm catching up with you. I've done the cancer thing once, and I'm already at 2 divorces at age 40 though, so I'm coming up on your
No, you're right on target. But trust me, the 3rd marriage, that's the really good one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was
years
wondering.
Here.
Really? That's awesome. That's amazing. That's very good. That gives me hope. So if you're open to it, I thought it would be interesting if you would do a reading on me. If that's something that we could do via Zoom, I thought it would be interesting for the podcast.
Except for one word. I won't do a reading on you. I'll do a reading for you.
There
a reading on you says you're the victim sitting there. A reading for you, it's joint, it's dialogue.
Okay, cool. Because I'm not trying to play the victim.
Oh, I know you're not, but look, I'm an author. I hear words, and so I want to encourage your listeners. If you're going to go, don't ask, can you do a reading on me? Say, can you do a reading for me? And be ready to be part of it. You know. Okay. So I'm going to ask you, same thing I always do. Every day tour bus, past life, spirit guides, or dead people. Dead people, not so much on a public airway because I don't censor what I'm going to get. And it may be something terribly personal or what you don't want out there. So I'd say try the first 3.
Right. Well, I figure I think we'll, for everybody's sake and my own, I think it'd probably be the best if we just do the everyday tour bus. Let's take it out for a spin.
All right.
Put some wheels on the ground.
I will give you the rules that I give all rookies or people who sit with me for the first time. Number 1, if you don't understand what I'm telling you, you're going to stop me right there. Corbie, back it up and do it again. There is no such thing as a stupid question. And there are 3 cards that weird out rookies: Death, the Devil, and the Tower. If they come up, I'll tell you what they mean because it ain't that. Okay?
Gotcha.
So I have 3 piles in front of me, left, middle, and right. Which one do you want me to read?
Left.
Done. The first thing I do is 10-card Celtic overview. It's what a lot of people start with. It's the thing that everybody recognizes in B movies. But it gives us the general energy, and then we go into what I call the subsections. Okay? So first thing I do is I look for the major arcana. In my deck, they're the ones with the Roman numerals and the names at the bottom. It's the concentrated God energy in the deck. Statistical average is 2. You've got 1, which means this is free will. Nothing's written in stone. God says, you don't like it, change it. I don't care. Then we go with the suits. We look for wands, and you've got 3. Wands are creativity, power, passion, and drive. What you put out to the world to go, this is Justin, take it or leave it. You've got 3 cups. Cups are relationships, but anything that goes human heart to human heart, family, friends, work, community, not just lovers. You've got 2 swords, challenges, speed bumps, crud, and the mental work to deal with it. You have one pentacle. Pentacle is about material goods. So I would say this is more about how creative you can be with your relationships than anything else. It's not necessarily stuff, house card job. The first thing I see is the Ace of Wands. And the Ace of Wands is always a big thumbs up card for new beginnings. And again, it's part of your creativity. And over it, for good or ill, is the World card. So right there, it says the world is going to be dragging you out your front door, kicking and screaming. Trust it. Key to this is the card about self-growth and self-improvement. Remember what I said about things happen because we need them to. Right. You are going to be pulled out of your comfort zone. When is your birthday? Month and day. Month and day only. That's all I need. I want to check your numerology for the year.
July 7th.
7 plus 7 is 14. Always check my math. Next year's master number is 6. 22 plus 0 is 2. All right, you bring it down to a single number. Our lives go in 9-year cycles. And next year is a 2-year for you. And a 2-year is the year of negotiation, the fudge factor, the compromise, and a lot of patience. If you tell people what you want to do is your idea, 72 reasons why they won't bother. Let them think what you want to do is their idea, and everybody goes, yeah, baby, and you shoo them out the door like chickens. So just be aware of that. Because this year has had some new people, some new adventures in it. It was a 1 year. It was a beginning year. But what's coming in the next 9 months is the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles says the next 9 months, you have got to look at what puts money in your pocket, food in your mouth, and a roof over your head. That's vital. Now, 2 very interesting cards come up for your self card and what's around you. The self card is the 8 of Cups. And the allegory here is you've got someone walking away from cups. He has a cloak on and he's leaning on a staff and it looks like a tough road ahead. The allegory is the beer is flat, the wine is sour, the water is dirty. There is no more nourishment in those cups. So the guy leans on the staff of his will, dons the cloak of his passion, says that's a mother of a road ahead, but where it goes is what I want. Yet around him is the card that talks about sneaking around, lying, and taking advantage. So what that tells me right now, even before I finish the reading, is you are going to be stepping out of your comfort zone, and the vultures may say, oh, good, now we could take a few chunks out of it. Right. Not only no, but hell no. I want to give you my favorite mantra, which is no is a fabulous idea next year. You have got to concentrate on what you need, what you want. Remember, the help will be indirect. What you think about in the middle of the night is you need some heart healing and you would like to have somebody at your back who says, I believe in you. To me, those 4 words trump 3 words. Everyone says, I love you is most important. I say no, because you can love someone and not believe in them. But if you say, I believe in you, you absolutely love them. There's your difference. Within 18 months, the entrepreneur's card, solid business, your business, what you feel you want to put out in the world, or heartbreak, because you're no longer the kind of person who can numbly just punch a clock, do what they're told to do, and have your life outside. Is this making sense to you so far?
It's making a lot of sense.
Good. That's my job. All right. Now we can take a look at any subsections, whether it's career, whether it's relationships, whatever you want on that level. Keep going.
Okay.
It's important.
Let's look at that's tough. Let's look at relationships first.
Got one or want one?
In one.
Okay. First name of partner, please.
Laura.
You, Miss Laura. The relationship, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Now I'm going to give you an example of how I read with both tarot and oracle decks at once. Under this, I'm going to check the karma that's involved. This deck is by the guy Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, if you remember that book. And the deck I use specifically for karma and relationships. That was, I think it was popular in the 80s or 90s. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You see, right here, you're already seeing that it's not a matter of flip 3 cards and say, wait until October and fire the second redhead. There's lots of information that you got.
Right.
All right. You, You're moving and traveling, whether that is literal traveling car or your soul is growing. That's a major part of what you're doing. Miss Laura, interesting. I normally don't read cards reversed, but this came up reversed. So this is someone that even if they have done what I will call bitchcraft before, they're learning to be better at discussion. How are we going to solve things instead of personal pokes? The two of you, victory through teamwork, which is very good. What you need to know. The Princess of Wands card is always what I call a vision quest card, which does not mean you have to go out fast, pray, and ask the Great Spirit for your totem animal. But is you really need to read your own entrails. What am I here to do? What do I want to get rid of or change or keep? Outcome? My friend, you have one of the friendliest, toughest cards in the deck because it's the 9 of Cups. And while the 9 of Cups does indeed mean wishes fulfilled, it has a secondary meaning. Be careful what you wish for, because you're going to get it. Got me? Now, what's the karma underneath? You came into this relationship because you both dislike and need solitude. You do not want someone who is attached at the hip to you because that stifles you. She came into it because she's someone who gets clues early. She does not have to have boat semaphore flags waved over her head so she understands what's going on. This is good. Why did the two of you decide in your pre-birth planning session to try a relationship? The card is support. Now, for those that could see the card, they'd see that there are Krishna's hands around but not touching the heart. What does that mean in terms of support? Well, think about if you were going up a ladder. Laura wouldn't have her hand on your back pushing. She'd be about 18 inches behind you, just there, but waiting to catch you if you stumbled. That's what you both have to learn about support. You can't stifle each other, but you need to be there waiting the way a martial artist is just waiting to see what the move is.
Right.
Current karma is appreciation for the small things. Let me tell you, one of the reasons this marriage has worked for 21 years is that appreciation. I don't know how many hundreds of times we've had breakfast and Carl has done the dishes for me, but he always gets a smooch and a hug because I didn't have to do the dishes, which is why he keeps doing the dishes. Learn from this. Final karma, expression, which is great. There will always be a level of honesty. There will always be an ability to tell each other what is going on so that you can grow together. Does any of this not make sense, or is it clear?
That's all making very much sense. Very much sense.
Good. See, no scaries.
Yeah. Not yet. Not yet. We haven't done career yet.
Now, you see, I used to be an executive recruiter. I love career questions. So you want to do that? You can hit me. No problem.
Ooh, yeah, let's do it.
All right. 3 things. You either want to stay where you are, change jobs, but somebody else is still writing the paycheck, or entrepreneur. Which one?
Entrepreneur.
Any idea what you want to do?
We're doing it.
Podcasting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you know, in a sense, I've got some other my iron in a lot of fires. I'm in school for psychology, and also working on becoming a meditation facilitator and doing some probably kind of coaching stuff and stuff like that.
You want to be a brain guru. I'm just going to give you the overall title, the brain guru.
Right. There you go.
Card for you, a card for the energy around your new career, a card for where to do it, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Again, not just 4 vague cards. When you are a certified tarot master or previously a certified professional tarot reader, you understand how to break out a question to give your client the most useful information. If you had said to me, is my new career going to be successful? I would have looked over my glasses and said, and what if I said, no, you're going to lose everything and live in a box under a bridge? Wrong question. Always ask, how do I make my new career rock and roll? So, card for you, the 8 of Wands. Perfect. It's communication. This card is about communication. That's the heart of what you do. Communicating with your clients, helping them communicate with their own selves. Brilliant. Energy around the business. There's that love card. It's the Queen of Cups, which is emotional love and support. Great if Laura's got it, but that also tells me probably they're going to be a majority female listeners or clients for you, because they are more willing to look into the soft, dark, intuitive side than guys are.
Right.
Where are you going to do it? This is an abundance card. It's the Queen of Pentacles. Notice she's holding abundance in both hands. So that tells me you need to have it in two different directions, electronically and in person. You can't just choose one or the other. How to market what you do. The Six of Pentacles is a card of assistance, but notice, to me, it's a card that shows not enough assistance. So the way I would market it is, if you're looking in your life and you're not getting enough assistance from the outside, have you checked inside? Have you plumbed your own stores? Your clients, people who are returning to themselves or want to, they got lost. Competition, all the heavy duty new age gurus who say you have to go to retreat centers and you have to do this diet and don't eat food with leptin in it, and you have to meditate at 3 a.m. Do you realize how useless that is going to be to a woman in Milwaukee with 2 preschool kids and a job?
Right.
Not going to happen. All right. If you have staff to help you run it, probably from home, probably the people you already know and love. Finances. This is the Hierophant, or not the Hierophant, the Hermit for me is a card of ultimate truth. It's a hermit. He's carrying a lantern. And I always say that reminds me of Diogenes. Who's Diogenes? Diogenes was a Greek philosopher who went around day and night with a lit lantern. And people would go, yo, Di, what's with the lamp? It's daylight. And he would say, I'm looking for an honest man, and it's pretty damn dark. So the more truthful you are with people, the more you show them how to find the truth of their own selves, the more financially successful you're going to be. What do you need to know? Make sure it doesn't get boring. This is the been there, done that, sold the franchise card. The day that it becomes rote to you is the day that you lose it.
Right.
Okay. You always have to get up in the morning, not have to get up in the morning. Final card. Sure. Yeah, a lot of people would think it's risky, but you can grab the brass ring if you believe in yourself enough. Do it. So that's what I see for career. Does it make sense?
Yeah. It sounds like things are going to go my way.
It does.
As long as I stay the course and do the work.
Yes. You can't get distracted by fame. You can't get distracted by, my aura don't stink stuff. You can't get distracted by people who say you're doing it wrong. My two magic phrases. Thank you for sharing. You may think that if you wish, and then you go do what you know you need to do.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. That was actually I would say my first quote unquote real tarot card reading, at least by a tarot master. So that was very interesting and all good news. And all good news. I was waiting for some really bad news.
No, and I would have told you. For instance,
I would hope that you would. I would hope that you would have.
Like I said, there are 3 cards that weird out rookies, and the one that I use most often is the Tower. The Tower shows doom and gloom and lightning striking a building and fire and people falling out windows. And people see that and start to shake and cry. I said, no. Think of it like the imploding sports stadium. Okay. Yankees want to build a new stadium. They got to blow up the first one and clear the ground. So when the Tower card comes up, it says you will need to clear the ground. There are some things that no longer serve you that you have to get rid of, or, spirit will do it for you. But then that gives you ground to build new. It's not the Monty Python foot going on your entire life.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. What were the other 2?
The Devil card is being bedeviled for something, someone, or some situation, or holding yourself back from your highest and best. It's not Mr. Horns in a Tail. It's not Lucifer Morningstar. It's not Jack Nicholson. I mean, just hang it up. And the Death card does not mean you're going to be hit by a bus on Tuesday. It's death of an old way of life, death of what you've outgrown, death of what was never you in the first place, pure transformation.
Right. All those sound like incredibly positive things to me.
But for some people, it's scary because they believe that they're victims, that they have no power. Right. Those are what I call sheeple.
Yeah. There's plenty of those out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They all sound pretty positive to me, except for the Devil. I was definitely looking forward to Jack Nicholson, but I guess we can't.
Not as Daryl Van Horn, you wouldn't.
Right. I guess we can't get everything we want.
No, no. But the thing is, have I had readings that are really tough? Yes, I have. The thing that, 95% of the readings that a psychic gets is, does Bruce love me? Right. So sometimes the cards are neutral to negative. And then if they go, I just don't know, it's okay. 3 threes, 3 cards for status quo. You just kind of bumble along. 3 cards for the come to Jesus meeting and you have serious counseling. 3 cards for hostile. Bye-bye. It's been nice. I'll send you a postcard. Now, the cards could say to me, she better leave. But I have to zip it because we've got free will going on here. Right. If she says, well, I guess I can stick it out, I have to let her do that. The only exceptions are if she tells me she's been abused or battered. Then the wiki-woo hat comes off, the reverend collar that I have goes on, and I see if we can't get her out of the dangerous situation. That's pretty much the only time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's definitely a situation where I think it's time to speak up and be like, no, you can't stay in this situation. This is, you've got to go.
Yes. Yeah.
No more free will involved in that one.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. That's gotta be a tough one to deal with, huh? When that comes up.
It is. Sometimes doing a past life retrieval for them will explain things, but it's always easier if they understand soul plan backgrounds. That was the work that I did with Robert Schwartz in his book series, Your Soul's Plan, Your Soul's Gift, and Your Soul's Love. I was one of the 2 channels he used in all 3 books. The whole thing is karma is not carrot and stick. That's what we discovered. Karma is 5 things. Unbalanced energy, which is in neutral. Healing, service, contrast. You want to learn about abundance. You do both rich life and a poor life. And healing of beliefs. It does not take away from the idea of dharma, but it says God isn't being nasty. Let's, poor Elton John, I use him all the time. Let's use the example of Ryan White. Ryan White was the kid who got AIDS from a blood transfusion in the late 80s when AIDS was a real stigma. And so everybody in his hometown, he was a pariah. His family was treated really badly.
I remember that.
Right. Now, if you go by the old carrot and stick idea, you think he must have been really bad in a past life. But he makes friends with Elton John. When Ryan dies, Elton sings at his funeral and is so moved by his compassion and his courage and his positivity that Elton goes and gets clean and sober off drugs, off booze, off, all of the addictions. You want the list, go see Rocket Man. Right. He's been clean for over 30 years. And in Ryan's memory, he started the Elton John AIDS Foundation, which has since raised $500 million to help HIV and AIDS research worldwide.
Yeah.
So our understanding is that in his pre-birth planning session, the soul of Ryan White says, I can cause all of this wonderful stuff to happen if I'm willing to have a short, tough life. Looks like I would be willing to do that. So I would say that his soul plan was that of healing the world, not necessarily him. So that's why, we've all been murderers, we've all been victims, we've all been sinners, we've all been saints.
Right.
Does that make sense to you with your beliefs?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely 100% on board with reincarnation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Buddhist wheel of life, but
yes, I am.
It's all about reincarnation, and not just in in new lives, but in your present life. It's about a daily reincarnation.
Yes. Yeah. And it's an interesting thing. What you run up against with Christians is the Bible says we only live once, and I look at them and say, and you know what, you're right too, because my understanding, the soul reincarnates time after time after time after time. This recipe, Corbie, the Justin recipe, we get one shot. Yeah, this particular combination will never be down here again. When I transition up, The soul will take in all of the good things I did, let go of the bad things, and this personality gets hung up in the closet. Now, what do I mean by that? Yes, I get to talk to my father. He was my best friend. He was a fabulous internal cardiologist. And if I do medical intuitive work, especially if it's cardiac related, he comes in and he puts on the Jerry Dorkin suit for me. He cloaks himself in the personality of my father. Now, it's all the good stuff. It's the terrible puns, and it's the wise and compassionate physician. His anxiety, depression, and hypochondria, that stays in the closet. So we don't totally dissipate. People are afraid I'll just snuff out like a candle. No. When you go back and remember who you were in 11th grade, you remember and want to continue all of the good things that you were.
Right.
The stuff that you hated, the tantrums and the cliquishness and the me, all of that. No, you leave behind. And it's the same thing, my understanding, when we transition upstairs. All of our positives we keep, all of the negatives are gone. We learned what we needed to learn.
That's beautiful. That's just beautiful. Yeah, I definitely, like I said, I definitely believe in reincarnation. You use the analogy of a candle being snuffed out, and it's like, I've always heard the analogy of, reincarnation is like, it's like lighting one candle from another candle. It's like the flame is passed on, but the original candle is no longer in play. And
right.
But the flame itself continues. Yeah.
Energy is, indestructible. And, sometimes I have to look at people when they say, did I really have a past life? And I say, do you think you're bright enough to get it learned all in one life? I don't think so. Oh, okay.
So how does that work? How does the past life reading work? How does that, how do you go about that? Like,
I have no freaking idea how I do it. I'll be honest with you. But, one of the reasons that intuitive psychics, whatever, we all do different things is because spirit goes rifling in our file cabinet to see what we got. What's my background? Theater major at Brown University and professional actress. I know how to bring character to life. I'm an author. Words are my drug of choice. I know how to tell stories. And I have always been a history buff. My husband and I met at the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome, which is a flying museum here in upstate New York. And as he says, there was this gorgeous brunette who knew the difference between a Fokker DR1 and an F1 based on the wing skid that had to marry. Both of us loved World War I aviation. So having all that together, the universe said, you'd be good at past life retrieval. Now, notice I said retrieval, not regression. You do not do regression without someone who is a certified hypnotherapist or past life regressionist, because they know how to pull you out if you're reliving a death or a very traumatic experience. If you don't want to do that, you just want to have your answers like, why am I freaking out when I have wet hair in my face? You ask me, I do quick trance. I go up into the Akashic, pull down the book and say, read chapter 2. So that's what I do. So why does everything that I have make a difference? There could be somebody else who is also very good at retrieving past lives. But whereas they might say, it's a long skirt and a big hat, it's in front of a big ornate building or something, so I know it's old fashioned. I can see the exact same thing and go, okay, hobble skirt, picture hat, that kind of ostrich feather. You're in front of the Brandenburg Gate. This is Berlin in 1911. Which one's going to give you the better information?
Right.
On the other hand, don't ask me to use a pendulum. I have a slight benign tremor in one hand. I wouldn't trust what I got. And don't ask me to do spirit art because I can't hold a pencil and do a stick figure with a lot of prayer. That ain't my thing.
That's too funny. Oh, man. Yeah, that's fascinating. So you've used the phrase a few times, soul plan. Explain that to me. What exactly is a soul plan? And just explain your work in that dimension.
Okay. Soul plan, think about pre-birth planning. When the soul is ready to incarnate, there is a pre-birth plan that is discussed with the soul, the higher self, and the other souls that are going to be part of this particular incarnation to work on the particular challenges that the soul wants to learn with. With me, I knew that my mother was going to be an alcoholic cross-addicted with barbiturates who was going to give me what I call a trip trigger at the age of 16. This soul needed to learn the value of being in a female body and the fact that sex is not a bargaining chip, right? So I knew that I would need a best friend as a father, no matter what road I chose to get through this. The soul of Jerry Dorkin, my dad, he and I usually come in as contemporaries and we're best friends. But in this pre-birth plan, he agreed to come in as my father. It's what we call a father-child monad, parent-child. And he had already had lots of karma with my mother, so they were working on their own stuff. Now, how do you do a soul plan in free will? Let's look at college. You go to college, you decide to be a physics major. Okay. That's your pre-birth plan. And you can do it either with gut courses or take a double major plus lab. That's your free will. When the thing happened at age 16, when my mother accused me of being a lot of things I was not at 16, I could have done gut course, which was said, I'll show you, and stayed a virgin until I was married, stayed married, had kids. Instead, I chose double major plus lab. I thought that all of the horrible things she was saying about me must be true, and she must know more about me than I did. And so that set me up for multiple marriages, rape, trauma, poverty, the whole thing. At the end of this life, I still graduate. I still have learned what it is to value being in a female body, what it is to see sex not as a bargaining chip. It just took me longer and harder roads to find it.
Right.
But I've still continued my soul plan.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. It's so weird. It's so weird how that works.
Hey, you know, there's a lot of weird because we just don't know. We're not.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
We got pea brains. It's like asking an ant to take a calculus course. This is like not going to happen.
Yeah, the ant would probably do better than I would at calculus.
Hey,
math is not my strong suit.
I'm there with you, brother.
So soul plan, that's fascinating. Like pre-birth planning. You know, it's never even something I've even heard before.
Robert Schwartz's books are really fabulous.
Robert Schwartz.
Yep. People say, so why don't we remember all of our past lives? Because if you're a janitor in Des Moines and you find out that you were actually Napoleon, you spend all your time wanting to learn about who you were and you're not living this life now. We only get a hit on a past life when it is of value to us. A couple of examples. A woman came to me and said, look, my son's in his late 20s. He still won't live more than a mile from me. He's always asking me for my opinion on everything he does. I'm really worried about him, what's going on. And so I said, okay, 1944, Utah Beach. Your son is on the beach. He's a soldier. He's got a pretty badly mangled leg. You're his commanding officer. I'm seeing you drag him behind a dune to safety. You still took some shrapnel, but you both got out there. You both lived. And I opened my eyes and she's just looking at me and she says, could you see my rank? I said, yeah, you were a sergeant. And she goes, he's been calling me Sarge since he was 3 years old and we had no idea where that came from.
Wow, that's intense. Wow, that's crazy.
The other one was there was a woman from the Midwest who had no connection with it, but was fascinated with the Civil War and the Underground Railroad. And she came to me and asked, and I said, okay, I'm seeing a small whitewashed room, low ceiling. In fact, there are two tall men standing there, but their heads are bent over because they're too tall for being in there. You are kneeling by a rickety iron small bed. There's an old dying Black woman in it. You're dressed in something from about 1862, 1863. It's gray twill. There's black soutache trim around the peplum and the skirt. And you're all grieving because this woman came from a plantation in Mississippi. She came all the way up the railroad and she was just outside of Boston, but couldn't make it. She was dying. And you all grieved because she had tried so hard to get there. And I opened my eyes and the woman, tears running down her face. And she said, I have had that same dream over and over for 20 years and I've never known what it meant. So
wow.
I don't know how I do it. I get out of the way. I let the information come in and I say what I see. But I don't ever censor, which is why I won't do mediumship in person. Because sometimes what comes out of my mouth is terribly intense, or maybe cruel and hurtful, or maybe language that should not be used in public. But if I try to stop that, that means my ego has snapped in and it's no longer a reading. It's my deciding, should I share them? Should I not? And that's not what I do.
Yeah, I get that. So how do you go about doing a past life retrieval? Like, how does that go?
People generally come to me with an obsession or a phobia or a place they either love or hate. If I'm doing a full soul plan reading, which is something that I do, it's the toughest thing I do. They will come to me with a life challenge. Why did I choose abusive parents? Or why did my fiance die 1 month after we got engaged? Or why did I choose to parent handicapped children? And when we did it with Robert Schwartz, he would do some intensive interviewing of the subject. And then the channels would each go in. My friend and colleague, Stacey Wells, literally could see the past, the pre-birth planning session. I was the one that was able to see the past lives in detail and literally channel people's souls, their higher souls, for them to talk to. When it's just me, it's about 12 hours of pre-work, doing the trance work, pulling down 2 to as many as 10 past lives, after also checking and seeing their numerology. What do they bring in to deal with this time? And looking at how that, if you will, macrames in with their story. But the other thing that I do is I will, once I get the lives down, I'll do a historical back check. If I saw somebody using a cotton gin in 1449, well, it wasn't invented until the 18th century. So I know that life is wrong. The whole thing gets tossed and I go back in. I have to know that what I'm giving them is historically correct or I don't trust it. Then we're on the phone together for an hour and I give them all of the stuff that I've discovered. And as I often say, for Rob's book purposes, I was the priest, inspirer, storyteller. We see this is what the situation was. Now, how are you going to move forward with it? How are you going to change your life with it?
Right.
But like I said, it's about 12 hours of pre-work before I'm on the phone with a client for an hour. It's an entire day. And the next day I'm a crispy critter, which is why I only do them on Tuesdays and I take Wednesdays off.
Understandably so. That sounds like an incredible amount of work and it can be incredibly draining.
Yes.
Both mentally and physically and spiritually.
But, you know, I do not encourage people to come to me saying, oh, I must have been Anne Boleyn. I can't wear turtlenecks. No, honey. I mean, I've been doing these readings for like 20 years and I've only found 2 or 3 people who were famous. One of them was Nellie Bly, who was the turn of the century investigative reporter, one of the best early female ones. And I had never seen a picture of the client that I was reading from. Turns out she looks very much like Nellie Bly this time. Mercy Otis Warren, who was an intellectual in the Revolution and best friends with Abigail Adams. And Jacob Rees. There's a girl in Canada who was superb at black and white photography, which I didn't know. She just said, what is it about photography that I love? And Jacob Rees was the fellow turn of the 20th century who took the very famous black and white pictures of the slums of New York City. Notice these are not, yes, you were a queen. Yes, you were Cleopatra. But these lives of not famous people aligned exactly with what these 3 people were trying to do with their lives this time.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's so strange.
Oh, I know. I know it's strange.
It's super fascinating though. I love it. It's great. Oh, wow. So is this, do you have an office that you do this out of, or is it something you do via the internet? Do you
Well, I mean,
Like if someone wanted to find you and
it's
take advantage of your
oh,
services.
that's easy. Yeah, I'm on the internet. You can't avoid me. I
And why
work.
would we?
I work on Zoom. I mean,
Okay.
somebody from Bolivia does not want to come up here to upstate New York with the sheep and the cows. They just don't.
I mean, they
So-
might.
Nah, trust me, not this county. So yeah, no, I work online all the time. That one last quick example of how the universe fixes things. For years, I was on the road 45 weekends a year, 50,000 miles a year on the car doing the expo circuit. And my nickname was the Travel Channel. Then all of a sudden in July of 2019, herniated disc pinched nerve, which makes birthing triplets look like a tea party. I
Right.
got better, but then the doctor said, you're toast. You are not going back on the road. You can't load in and load out. You can't do 10 hours in the car. So from November 2019, I rushed to get my business completely online. What happened in March of 2020, but the advent of the year of Murder Hornet Bingo and Hold My Beer? All my friends that just did the circuit, their business tanked. I was set up and I ran with it. So that was the universe saying, we need you not to miss a beat. So trust us, we're going to do that. That is an exact example of how the Tower card works.
That's great. That's great. And you're set up, ready to go.
Yep.
That's
and
awesome.
I was about July 2020. I was really grateful. That's the way it worked.
I can imagine so. Yeah.
But
yeah.
it was tough to swallow in the beginning.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's a hard cross to bear at first. Yeah, for sure. So where can people find you at? Do you have a website or?
Oh, tons. CorbieMitleid.com is the website.
Okay.
You can also find me social media on Pinterest and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube.
Okay.
And if you want to work with me, Facebook is Fire Through Spirit. And if you want to work with me on a regular basis, go find my Patreon page. That's where you get a chance to really do a monthly support for creators. And depending on the level that you pledge, you'll have monthly tribal Zooms with me. I do free classes strictly for my Patreon peeps. Because when you do that, you help yourself. You also help me put out more content, make the world a little better.
Yeah, absolutely. Help reduce the suffering just a little bit.
Yes, sir. You got it.
That's the name of the game, right?
Yes.
Well, Corbie, it has been such a pleasure meeting with you and talking to you. And that tarot reading was fantastic. It's like literally everything I wanted to hear and was so afraid that it was going to go the hard other direction. I was like, oh, did I pick the right stack?
Justin, maybe you've learned a little something and the universe is pointing that out to you. You know, the universe does not always hit us upside the head with a cream pie. Sometimes
it's basically, I think it's basically just reaffirmed that I'm consistently making the next right decision, you know, as far as both in my relationship and in my career life and just in general, you know,
you're taking the learning in a right direction.
That's what I've been trying to do. That's my goal. That's my goal. Well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and let's definitely stay in touch and do this again.
You got it. It was a pleasure.
Thanks again to Corbie Mitleid for being on the show. If you would like to get in touch with her, she can be found at CorbieMitleid.com. And remember to go check out DharmaJunkiePodcast.com. I'm going to be adding some merch soon, and I'm going to be starting a blog over there. You'll be able to hear all my crazy rhetoric that I don't talk about on the show, I guess. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening. This has been episode 55 of the DJP, and I've been Justin. Namaste.